All right, good morning and welcome to another session of the 18th annual Transforming the Teaching and Learning Environment virtual conference. I'm Bob Ailes and you are stuck with me as the moderator. I want to say this year we have a sponsor, the Journal of Educators Online. It has some really great articles appropriate for just about anybody that's on here. Uh, I suggest you check it out. You can go to the thejeo.com and look at it, read the articles they have so far, and I think it'll be worth your while. We have with us today Sarah Rasmussen, who until the end of the day tomorrow is the Director of Online Education at Dakota State University uh, in Madison, South Dakota, right, Sarah?
Correct.
What's the weather like there today?
Actually, it's not there yet, but it looks like it's supposed to be almost 60, which would break a record for us.
Wow.
But don't let
Yeah.
that fool you. The winter is awful.
Uh, well, Sarah's going to talk about hitting a home run with virtual student engagement, building a connected online community, which is really essential to be successful. So, Sarah, let me turn it over to you, all yours.
That sounds great. Well, thank you for that introduction, and asking me to participate in this. I went ahead, I'm sharing my screen. I hope that everyone can see it. Maybe just a thumbs up if you can. I'll continue on.
Looks good.
Okay, perfect. So, as you had mentioned, there was a baseball theme to a conference that I went to, and baseball is my favorite sport. Not, I don't play it. I love to watch it. I'm one of the few that loves to watch a full baseball game, even on TV. So, this was a great presentation topic for me. And I paired it in with what we can do to build online communities for our online students. So one strategy we've taken here at Dakota State um, is that we feel like the communication within that the online students receive, they do want that extra communication, but it doesn't look like what a main campus student would receive, or even a main campus student that happens to be taking an online class. So we wanted to communicate with our students in the best way that they would be able to communicate with us and that would make the most sense. So we combined the two favorite pastimes of academic and baseball. And one thing we've done with that, I love the combination of it because there's so many things that go into baseball. There's so many stats, there's marketing, there's business, there's sports management, everything you can think of. And so that's why it is such a great all-encompassing um, matter of combining the two. Um, so for some of you that have worked with online students for quite some time, these aren't going to be any surprise to you. These are some of the common challenges faced by online students. Overwhelming busy work. So one thing we hear from students, and we surveyed our students informally and informally, and we also had a few focus groups. One thing we found was that online students felt like they were handed a lot of busy work just to prove they were doing something, just to prove that they met a learning objective. And a lot of
Excuse
faculty
me,
were doing.
Dr. Rasmussen, we actually are still on your title slide.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oops. Here we- Does that look good to everyone? Common challenges faced by online learners.
Now
Sorry,
we
we
just
still
see the
see
Dakota.
the title.
My goodness. Okay. Um, Let me see what's going wrong here. Share. I apologize for this. Not sure what's going on. As I'm trying to work through this, I will, goodness, I will show you. It does show that I'm sharing. And thank you again for telling me that. I don't know if you don't tell me, so well, hey, I suppose you can't see it now, can you?
Something went across your screen on the left side for half a second.
Yeah, that was the cursor, I'm sure.
Sure.
So just hitting the forward arrow.
There.
You know what? Somebody made a good point. It might be an extended display.
There we go.
There we go. Yep.
Okay, you can see it now? It is an extended display. That's probably the issue. Thank you.
Yeah,
Oh, I apologize for that. Okay,
looks good.
there we go. So going back, thank you for my hiccup. So some common challenges that we find are, once again, that overwhelming busy work. So one thing we attempt to do within this student union is be able to show that they are using the resources we give them. There's ways to do that, which we'll get into as well. But these students are really faced with a lot of things, and that is that when a student comes to campus, we assume academics is their number one thing on their plate, and everything else kind of goes to the side. That's why they're here. That's the point. With online classes, the academic part is one of about 5 things they're juggling simultaneously. So it cannot be their very first and foremost. Many have families, many work full time, things like that. So we want to make it as easy for them to get the resources they need and get answers to questions and any sort of events that we have all in one space. And we chose to do that within D2L. That's our LMS that we use here, because we wanted it to look like similar to the courses that they're going to be enrolled in, or are enrolled in. So it gives them a really risk-free place to use D2L and not worry about if something didn't get submitted to the Dropbox, the right way. We can work out those hiccups with them so they're comfortable with it by the time they're in their classes. Also a feeling of being isolated or disconnected. And that's not to say that they want to join every club and, want to know all of their peers, but they do want to feel as though somebody notices that they're there and they're progressing, or they're not, and can have that open line of communication. Many places have limited access to different tools that we use because of the nature of the workday. So this is a tool to make sure that we're utilizing our resources that extend beyond that 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. time frame, so that when they get out of class at night or when they're studying at night, they have a place to look and connect to that would be just as helpful as if they were to do it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Explore the technological and pedagogical strategies used to build an engaging, resource-rich virtual student union. So we'll go over some of the resources that we've used. And now that we've done it for about a year and a half, I can tell you specifically what gets used the most. And then we can work on actual items if you choose to want to do something like that at your university. Okay, so some of the technological and pedagogical strategies, some of the key features that are housed in our virtual student union is, and this has been the number one feature, by the way, is we have live streamed our events. So anytime we have a speaker on campus, we have some sort of presentations, anything like that, I have asked that our marketing team who does our events form add a link on there that just says, will this be live streamed, yes or no? And if yes, please put the link. And then I am able to put it out online, and our online students can also ask questions if the nature of the presentation it goes that way. So they can ask questions, they can do all of that stuff, and they still get to view the speaker even though they are not on campus. We had a AI in the workplace session that students logged into. We had, anywhere of about 30 to 35 students log into our sessions, depending on what they are. We have an upcoming speaker on generational gaps and differences in Gen X and Gen Alpha and what that means to recruitment and retention. And so we put all of those live streamed events on there. And because it does allow them to ask questions, they really do get that sense of community that they would if they were on campus because they feel they're involved, they're included. And usually the speakers are pretty something they're interested in. It's not something they have to do by any means. Of course, some faculty will give out extra credit points we've had some of them, if they utilize the virtual student union at all, they get 10 extra credit points or whatever the case might be. So lots of flexibility in incentivizing things there. I've broken it down into different categories. And again, this is what we've done here, but it could be done whatever works for your campus. So we broke out the categories by their academic divisions, so what college they're in. We have a College of Business and Information Systems. We have a college, it's called our Beacom College of Computing and Cyber Sciences. And we have a College of Education and a graduate college, and then Arts and Sciences. So each semester I load them into their category and then post discussion questions that are relevant to what they're doing, whether it's biology or elementary education, so that they're getting streamlined questions or prompts or discussion posts that they can utilize in their education. We preload the calendar up front with all of the academic events. So we just take the academic calendar, preload it into our LMS, into D2L, so that it will automatically pinpoint and highlight when midterms are. I mean, they have it in probably 20 other different ways, but again, we just wanted to make that clear. And so anything they would need to understand or know, we would have preloaded into that, as well as the speakers and things like that. We do have some clubs. We don't usually see a lot of interest in clubs and organizations for online students. But because of the nature of some of our graduate programs in cyber operations and cyber defense, they do have a few student groups that meet. And this allows them to meet virtually within this area, or they can upload their meeting into this. Let's see. So then after that, here's something that I thought was really interesting. So I wanted to utilize who's using this, how much, what pages are of most interest to them, where are we seeing the most clicks? And while it's not, it can be very scientific, this one is just a ballpark of, no pun intended, of what type of topics they're logging into and how many times they're logging in. So based off of their LMS behavior, we can see if you look kind of in the middle of the screen here, you can see there's anywhere from 26 login attempts for one student has 51, another has 3. And while this is helpful, we can do things like if they're having if they're flagged for some sort of alert, this can just be one more tool to say, look, faculty XYZ, it looks like they've logged into tutoring, a bunch of times they're getting help as much as they can. And that would at least show them that the student is making efforts across the board. We do put our tutoring, both our peer tutoring and we use tutor.com as our third-party tutoring service. And so we upload that into the Virtual Student Union as well to be able to show, we upload the source and then we tell them all the resources they can have by utilizing that. Some of the discussion posts, we preload them 16 weeks in advance so that we're not having to come up with them on the fly. And I had a graduate student worker help me with some of this as well. So it's a great project if you have any GAs or work study, things like that. Some of our online discussion posts, a few examples here. What ethical considerations do you see in the development of artificial intelligence? We had just put out a new master's in AI, and so we wanted to make sure that we do have quite a few relevant topics there, but also arts and sciences. That's a great one because of our English and understanding the use of AI properly in an English course. Discuss a strategy supporting students with diverse learning needs. This again, not only helps them, but it helps us to get a picture of maybe some things we can offer that we don't, or we continue to beef up. How do emerging technologies impact traditional business models? So that's a great one for a business school. And then interdisciplinary approach could advance your field of study. So those are just a few of the questions. There's obviously however many more you'd like to. We've got a few sub ones on the side. What motivated you the most in obtaining your degree online? Share some emerging technologies or ideas that you have. So it really gets them, and then they can post off each other's posts just like they would in a normal discussion group. Those are a little more slow going, just because it's requiring them to put some thought into making a post, but it typically, if the students are posting or posing a question within there, we do see quite a bit of interaction. So when they do post, it's stuff they want to know is what we're finding. This just goes in a little bit deeper, just shows you an example of the share an emerging technology that you believe will revolutionize the future workplace. And we got some great answers: advanced robotics, revolutionary computer hardware, and these are all student driven. So that's the important key to note in this, is that all those discussions, we prompt them, but they're very student focused. This is one of the features. I just put a quick little screenshot, so it's not all that pretty, but I'm not sure how if most campuses use the UGA tool, but it is a dream tool, and I'm not working for them, but I do put this in the Virtual Student Union because it's such a great tool. So if you are using UGA or a similar tool, it's really made for having accessibility issues. And this would mean like a student doesn't have to turn in their accessibility paperwork to get these resources. So again, I wanted to reiterate that this is free to them, and it does things like, if you look on the right-hand side here, if you're dyslexic, I had a son who was dyslexic all through, well, he is dyslexic, but he really struggled in high school. This will turn, if you just click the dyslexic mode here, it will turn the font into a certain kind of font that is really well known for helping dyslexia readers, where it's, kind of bolded at the bottoms, and at the tops. It's a method that works really well, and they just click on it and it switches everything on their computer to that until they turn it off. It doesn't just have to be in D2L, it can be in everything that's on their screen. Same with ADHD. If they struggle with that, it will block out everything but one paragraph at a time. And as you scroll through the units, it will just do the paragraph. And it's got many other tools like that within it. But I wanted to make sure that students were very aware of this, because it's not just for students with disabilities, it's helpful for absolutely any student. And again, it gives them a place where they can play around with it and not have to worry about messing up something within their classroom. I did calculate the average login history. On any given semester, we've got about 1,800 students in the Virtual Student Union, and that's undergraduate and graduate. And so when I calculated all of their logins, we've got an average of about 25 logins by topic, and then by students. So I didn't assign any learning objectives or anything like that to it. Just wanted to see how many times they're clicking. You can see some are excessive, 82, with the lowest being, I think, 14 right there. So that's just a good example of how you can see if what you're doing is working. And if you're seeing that there's a high login rate on something, I would encourage you to check out that topic, see maybe why it's coming up so often. And I happen to be blessed with working right next to our Center for Teaching and Learning. So I always communicate with the Center for Teaching and Learning if I'm seeing some things that might come up, that maybe we could do a session on for either faculty or students. This is an inside shot of what it looks like. Basically, what we do is make it in modular design. So that's kind of best practices for online teaching. So on the left-hand side here, you'll see I have different modules. And this one is an example of our Trojan Zone, which is our bookstore. And they can buy Spiritware, and this comes great around the holidays. We tend to have quite a few people who want to buy Spiritware, but they're not going to come to our campus bookstore and do it. This also, you can see there's a house for our campus and virtual events. Even if they're not live streamed, we still put them on here because we don't want to assume they're not interested in coming. As with a lot of the statistics out there, we see most of our student population within 60 miles of our campus. 60 miles of our campus has it's the largest city in South Dakota, Sioux Falls, which is about a little over 200,000 people is the population there. And we're within about 60 miles of that. So we do get a lot of students from that population that can make it to campus if they so choose to. And we do offer some events in Sioux Falls. And so we make sure to link them up with that as well. Athletics here, I did put an athletics hub in here, and I directed it straight to our athletics department, their webpage and their live stream. So if a student happens to want to catch a football game on a Friday night and not come to Madison, they can catch it online, or volleyball, or whatever they feel like doing. Again, just because they're online, we can't assume that they don't want to do these things. But so that's why we just make it easy for them to find. I do have one here for Trojan alumni. We haven't built that out entirely yet, mostly because the technicalities of not having a DSU account after you graduate. And so this wouldn't really be a spot for our alumni. So we've worked with that department to do something externally. But if you can figure it out, that would be a great spot for your alumni. And then this is just another example of the modular design. This is our Trojans online community hub. So they don't always want one, but this is where they can get access to, they can get their student ID. They can, again, if they click on here, they can look under our events. They can order their books online. They can do all of that right from that site. Um, One way we look to measure this, because it is it's hard to measure specifically if it's doing its job or not. But the one thing we were able to do is we do what's called the PSOL surveys here. It's a national survey, priority survey for online learners is what that survey is called, if anyone's interested and doesn't use it. But that is what we use to measure success. We only do those every other year. And in the world of online, every other year is a bit archaic sometimes. So, but it at least does show us a little bit of a ballpark of where we're seeing those gaps decrease. For example, we measured our retention rates. And one thing we found, which was a huge success in my opinion for this, because anytime you can make a dent in retention, it's going to have a trickle effect. And what this one did, I measured it pre-COVID, during COVID, post-COVID, and then I also measured in once we put this virtual student union live, if we saw any retention within those years, retention differences, if we saw any other satisfaction gaps increase or decrease. One thing we saw that was with our retention since launching the virtual student union, we saw an increase of a 3% retention increase over 5 years. So in just 5 years, that would account to a 10%, a roughly 10% retention increase, which is huge. Those numbers are a little skewed because again, I did say we measured in there pre-pandemic, then some COVID stuff, but this was all the success measures were post-COVID. And then we've measured it up to things like I feel like I know where to go to find resources to succeed academically. They put a rating scale on there, and we can see then based on a 1 to 5 scale where we're making some headway. Or communication. You know, we all know that students want that immediate communication, and while we think we might have it, they think immediate means like 30 minutes. We know that in what we reference, it's within a 24-hour period, unless it's on a weekend, and then it's 48 hours. But we make that clear so that they don't feel like they're not being heard or listened to. So those are some really great ways to measure. If you do something like this at your campus, you can measure it off of any of those type of evaluations that you do, or you can create. And so after running through this, and I will sure leave it open for questions, I'm hoping that if you choose to do something like this, it gives you a clear roadmap for what you might want to do. A good place to start with is just categorizing your main features, whether it's academic support, student support, billing, financial aid, whatever you want to get your message out there to students. And then this does give the students the feel of that 24/7 support. Even though it may not technically be you, being able to provide those resources to them in that manner is what they're needing for their support. One area of improvement I've seen that I just haven't got to yet, and I know the world of chatbots is going ever more and ever more, but if I were to improve one area, I think I would still improve it by utilizing a chatbot that if they're getting stuck, they can just pull up and it will guide them to the right place. So that would be an area that could be looked at to improve on some sort of resource. But as you go through your own, you'll see that there might be plenty more. So, okay. Well, that's me. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to let me know. There we go. So I know that used only about a half an hour of our time, but it was a pretty quick and simple one. Yeah, I see Kimberly.
Sorry, I just this was really neat, and I've been working like my campus is looking to do something very, very similar. And I'm not part of that project, but I am part of our student life efforts, and so there's a lot of correlations there. But I was wondering, so this the survey that you talked about, the national survey, can you tailor the questions, or do you have to use the questions that they
I
provide?
believe you have to use the questions they provide, but you can tailor it to a certain degree. So I know this last time I took out 10 questions and added ones that were just a little bit more relevant. So they do give you a pool of questions to work with.
Okay, okay, cool. Thank you so much. This
Yeah.
was really, really neat.
Oh, I'm excited for you. Great. Sure, happy to answer any other questions, should you have any. And I would give you my email because I always welcome feedback and if you have questions, but I will be leaving my time at DSU here tomorrow, as Bob said. And I am going to be going to the University of Tennessee at Martin. So I will still be in the system and you can still find me. I'll just be in Tennessee. So I don't know that email address quite yet, though.
Well, Sarah, you must have like a zillion details you're trying to take care of to make that move. Not
Yeah.
like you're going to be moving right next door either.
No, it's across the country, but more south, I'm hoping. It will bring much better weather.
Yeah. Well, maybe. I don't know. They've been getting hit pretty good compared to here in the southeast. So,
Yes, I have heard that. I'm hoping that was a fluke.
well, anyway, hey, thank you for doing this. I'm going to stop the recording.